All right, guys. New Moon Rapture here. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. First thing I want to touch on is the problem that I see with the upcoming Rapture on September 23rd. And so many people that are not convinced, not because there's not a lot of information for it, but because of the people who are promoting it. Okay, and I'm not trying to talk mess about anybody. Sometimes I'll expose some things about people, but my point is this, is that, so many people throughout the years have set wrong rapture dates, numerous ones. I'm not going to go through the list of people. There's so many on the internet. And they also like to say that God told him this, and then the date passes and it never happens. Now, I saw this as a problem a couple years back. Okay, and I addressed a few people. If you go down my list of videos last year and maybe the year before for doing this. Because I knew that when the rapture did come, that what the effect of that would have is like the boy crying wolf. Where he would say, wolf, wolf, and everybody would go, and then there was no wolf. And then the next day he would say, wolf, wolf, and everybody would go, and there was no wolf. But when the wolf really did come and he said, wolf, wolf, nobody came. That's exactly, because they didn't believe him, right? Because he was messing with them the other time. So that's exactly what is happening with the actual date of the rapture, September 23rd. And it's a shame. It's a shame, but, you have to be wise to catch on to these things to realize the truth or whatever. However you look at it. So that's what's happening, and I've produced so much information and evidence on this channel that, it's amazing. We know that the Feast of Trumpets is called the day that no man knows the day or the hour, because it happens within 2 days, because it depends on the sighting of the new moon. Hence, the name for the Feast of Trumpets is the day that no man knows the day or the hour. It's also called the hidden day, right? So this matches up with Matthew 24:36. No man knows the day or the hour, only the Father in heaven. And Mark 13:32, the same thing. No man knows the day or the hour, only the Father in heaven. So this is giving us a direct shot to look at the Feast of Trumpets. And I've shown you guys so many things that I've received so much revelation. And I don't go on here and I say, God told me by revelation. I give evidence. I give things you can see, right? I don't just say, believe me. And I don't stamp it with God's name of approval like that. It's by my fruit, by my work, okay? And so anyways, that's a problem that I see. Because I see some decent people that are usually decent, but they are going against, oh, it's just another rapture date. Oh, look at who's promoting it. These people who said wrong dates for years. And I knew this was going to be a problem, right? I knew when the time came for the rapture, I knew back in 2023 that it was the 2025 Feast of Trumpets. And I have the timestamps to prove it. You scroll down my channel to 2023 and I have like 6 or 7 videos pointing people to the 2025 Feast of Trumpets. That's where I believed it would be. I have the evidence, not like the guy Joshua who says, I seen a vision 7, 8 years ago, but he's barely talking about it this year. Well, he doesn't have any documentation from 7, 8 years ago, from 5, 4, 3, 2 years ago. He's barely talking about it now, so all he had to do was watch some YouTube videos, maybe even my videos, and then say he had a vision from Jesus. And they blow him up, he goes viral on YouTube, and they turn the truth into a lie. In other words, a lot of people look at this guy and the way that he's presenting himself and some of the wacky things that he says, and what it does is it turns the truth, which is the rapture date, into a lie because of how he's presenting it. Right? So they take the truth, they present it in a wacky way, and it becomes a lie to some people. Right? Just like the other people to how they're doing. You know, they've already predicted 10, 20, 30 wrong rapture dates. Now they're saying it's this day when it really is. And they're getting thrown into the pot as, oh, it's just another date. See, so the truth becomes a lie. But the truth is the truth. So with that being said, I want to share with you guys finally something that was revealed to me eventually after months of thinking on this, maybe even longer. And that is that there is understanding that there is two brides. There's the body of Christ, the Gentile bride, and there will be Israel, which will marry Jesus in that sense at the end of the 42-month Great Tribulation, or it's actually wrath. Okay, the dragon comes down to earth after the man-child is caught up in its 42 months of wrath. So I want to reveal some things to you because I had some calculations that I couldn't figure out. I'm like, I'm getting this number in two places. But then it dawned on me like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's why I'm getting it. But there's two ends of the world. There's two ends. Now, let me show you what I mean. As I was getting these calculations, I couldn't figure out why I was finding in these two separate spots. So we know that God declares the end from the beginning. And I've talked about some of these calculations before. Genesis 1:1 we know is the very beginning. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Well, that verse in the Hebrew, in Gematria, standard Gematria, equals 2701. Okay? And 2701 plus its reflection, or itself backward, 1072, is the number 3773. And the number 3773 is the number for God's wisdom. 37 is wisdom in ordinal Gematria, and 73 is wisdom in standard Gematria. And Proverbs 3:19 says that God founded the earth through his wisdom. So created everything through his wisdom. You find that number in the very beginning. 3773. Okay. Now also, interestingly enough, if you times it, 37 times 73, you come back to the number 2701. So 3773 is encoded all over in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Because it's the numbers for God's wisdom, 37 and 73 in Hebrew Gematria. Okay? Knowing that, that's the beginning, and I know that God declares the end from the beginning, a long time ago, me and my friend, we found that number at the end in 2029. Not 2032, that's all a lie, okay? 2029 is the end. 2029 is the Shemitah year, which is the year of release, 2028, 2029. And every 7 years is a Shemitah cycle. Okay, that is the year of release for Israel, 28, 29. The feast days, the appointed times, are God's times. They're not Israel's. They were God's before Israel, and he entrusted them to Israel. God still works off his calendar, and he works off all things work together for good that love God. But we're looking at his calendar right now. So 2029 is the year of release for Israel. Now, I found 3773 in that. Because these last three Shemitah years, 2029, 2022, which is 7 years back, or 3 years back from now, but 7 years back from 2029, and then 2015, which was a Shemitah year. 7 years apart, every 7 years, okay, that's a Shemitah, year of release. And the calculation goes as such. 20 plus 15 is 35, 20 plus 22 is 42, and 20 plus 29 is 49. Okay, this was revealed to me by a much higher power, okay? I couldn't make this stuff up myself. We call him God, okay? So 35 plus 42 times 49, last three Shemitahs, is 3773. The same number as Genesis 1:1. Okay? And this is the end, 29, because God declares the end from the beginning. So that number is in the beginning, that number is in the end, and it's God's wisdom. But recently, I think it was the past year, I found the same number for our date for the rapture, September 23rd, 923. 923 plus its reflection, 329, equals 1252. Do it one more time. 1252 plus 2521, its reflection, equals 3773. So I found this number in 2025 at the Feast of Trumpets, 923. And I found it in 2029, the last year, the end. Okay, and I was thinking, I was like, why am I finding this number that is the end from the beginning? Well, it's because there's two ends. And there's two new beginnings. Okay? Because September 23rd, coming up, is our end. This dispensation. Where there's no difference between the Jew and the Gentile. That's why the number 3773 is there. Declaring the end from the beginning. It's in Genesis 1:1. Now it's on September 23rd, 2025. But then it's on 2029, 3773. That's because after the 42 months, there's another end. Which, the 42 months, God is dealing with Israel again. And that's in Romans chapter 11. So you have two ends. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 1 Corinthians 15 will be changed in the twinkling of an eye. That's our end. Okay? So I finally figured that out. I was like, geez, why am I finding this number 3773 on September 23rd, 923? Because I know that God marks the end from the beginning. So that number is the very beginning. Now it's a 923. But then I'm also finding it for 2029. Well, that's because there's two ends. There's an end to this dispensation. And then there's an end after 42 months for Israel. And that's why the number is there. And what is the first day of Feast of Trumpets? It's the first day of the month of Tishri on the Hebrew calendar. What does Tishri mean? It means literally beginning and creation. Because in the beginning, and now at the end, 923. Tishri literally means the beginning and creation. That's amazing to me. Because God declares the end from the beginning. So, I mean, I'm totally sold out. I'm totally sold out because of the evidence that God has shown me, that I've shown you guys through hundreds of videos now. And again, if you scroll down my channel, I had lots of information in 2023 claiming a 2025 Feast of Trumpets rapture. There's a little iffy thing about people's discernment today. Okay, people don't realize how easy it is to deceive, right? Because, like again, I'm not trying to rail on this guy Joshua, but he simply doesn't have the documentation and evidence to prove what he's claiming. That he had a vision 7 or 8 years ago. There's no documentation of that. He's barely been talking about it for a year. And he could have watched videos online. And now he's claiming it. He could have watched my videos. Now, if he showed me something from 5 years ago or 6 years ago, then I would be more scared. I would give him a little more credit. He can't do that. And I'm not boasting, but give credit where credit's due. I can. Scroll down my channel to 2023, almost 3 years ago. Timestamps are there and everything. And a bunch of videos, 6 or 7 or 8 videos, I was claiming 2025 Feast of Trumpets rapture. It is what it is, man. I'm just pointing out the truth. I'm not trying to rail on anybody, but you got to think like how deceivers work so that you're not deceived, right? People are taken by this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, really, man, that's all it takes? Is he just got to claim something like that with no evidence of a vision 7 or 8 years ago? Right? Give me some documentation. You got a video from 7, 6, 5 years ago talking about this vision of Feast of Trumpets this year? Of course not. Of course not. Why do you think he's going viral? Nothing goes viral like that unless the powers that be are promoting it for some reason. Right? And again, the reason that I think is because they're trying to make the truth a lie. Right? They want people to look at the guy and go, yeah, right. Oh, another rapture date. So that people are thrown off because this is the real deal. Okay, we're coming up on the real deal now. And they want, the powers that be are trying to get people to look at it as just another rapture date. Oh, here we go, another vision. right? And they know what they're doing, right? But I know what they're doing too, so I'm trying to sharpen your guys' discernment. So anyways, those are the calculations I want to show you that I figured out. There's two ends of the world, man. 923, which is 3773, and 2029, which is 3773, which is Genesis 1:1. God declaring the end from the beginning. And there you go.